Okay, so in this video I'm just gonna do a quick texture haul on this base game dress with the flowers. I'm recording this voiceover afterwards since my microphone didn't well, it did work, but I accidentally set it to record the audio on my computer, which was consisting of metal music, so you can just hear the metal music and you can hear my voice. So I'm recording this afterwards, and I hope it will be clear to you how I make textures, and maybe hopefully it can help you a bit. So this is the before and after, in case you want to know. And now I'm gonna show you the whole process. So enjoy. Okay, so this is the dress, as you can all see. This is what it looks like, in case you're in doubt. And I found a different couple of embroideries, because that's what I'm gonna use. And I just googled embroidery vectors, and then I found this. And I just found a couple in good quality. Never pick the ones that say vector stock, because they're always in really poor quality and it's almost impossible to remove the background. So you need to find good quality picks, as I have done. And this is just the old one, or a rip I showed recently. And I made this just by using a pattern I had found, and then that I had already moved the background off. This is the one. So I had already removed the background, and I just used elements from it and put it together to create this bodysuit. And I also did a little medium blur to just remove the last few lines on the pattern. Yeah, that's basically what I did, so it's pretty easy to just make that. Everybody can do it. And now I'm just gonna open the dress, and then we're gonna try to make this without the pattern. We're gonna make a sort of base for our future pattern, because we can't just make the pattern on this. So yeah, that's what we're gonna do. So we're gonna find, originally I was gonna find a dress, but then I remembered there are no dresses I can use. So yeah, I was thinking a bit of doing a silky texture, but then I decided against it. So just chose a skirt in the end. Yeah, because you need a completely clean slate to work on, at least I do. There's a base game skirt which is pretty clean, and I just used that. And I just call it slit, which means delete in Danish. Slit. You learned something there. Congratulations. And then I'm just gonna find the top, which is also pretty base. Yeah, and then we're good, because I don't want to remove the flowers manually, because that's just, no, the effort. No. I just can't handle it. I used to do that in the beginning, but then I figured out how stupid it was, so I stopped, and now I just replace the texture. So that's just what we're gonna do. I'm just making, because sometimes it deletes a bit too much, so I'm just making an outline and deleting that, though that turned out I didn't have to do that, so yeah. I do make, like, not mistakes, but I do make stuff that just makes it take longer to make the texture sometimes. This is one of those times. It's not like it's prolonged by a lot, but I did have to cut in this video because there were just some times where I just experimented. That didn't really work out, so I just cut it off. So you didn't have to like watch too much of me just screwing up or experimenting. I think this texture, yeah, I'm just blurring out the lines manually because we don't want those. But I think this texture took me like 2.5 to 3 hours or something. So a pretty decent amount of time was just spent on this texture. Normally I don't do such these detailed textures, but when I do, they do take a couple of hours. Except my siren dress that took 4 or 5 hours. But yeah, there's not really much to say to what I'm doing. I'm just blurring it a bit so it will blend in more, and then I'm just kind of matching the colors a bit. Now we're gonna make the skirt fit, and we're also gonna match the color with the rest, with the top. Yeah, so it blends together and becomes a dress. I'm just gonna remove this little middle thing because I don't want it. I want it gone. I want a completely clean slate. Now we're just gonna make it fit a bit more. As you can see, there's still some contrast between them. I'm just blurring it manually a bit. I blurred it a bit too much. It looks pretty, yeah, good now. Let's just import it. Sometimes I import it too soon and then you can just see an error message come up. I'm sorry. Well, it's a bit darker, but we won't be able to see it when I do the pattern. So now I'm just blurring this out manually too, because I'm gonna use the shadowing already on the dress instead of making a new one, which I tried to make a new one at first, but that didn't work out, so I just deleted that little clip. But I'm just gonna use the texture we already have. Yeah, so I'm just gonna blur it so it mixes in a bit better. Just gonna delete the part on our base here, like so. Blur it a bit. It's a bit dark, but we will fix that later. I blurred it a bit too much, but I used the blur a lot, the manual blur. Now I'm just gonna add a little highlight because I saw that spot on the original dress. So that's just what I'm doing, a little bit of highlight. It doesn't have to be perfect. I'm just going to delete a bit of it since it's a bit too much. And blur it a bit. And let's just see quickly what it looks like. Okay. So it's a bit edgy, as you can see. I tried to fix that, that didn't work, so I'm gonna try it again. So just manually blur it a bit so it isn't that edgy, because we don't like that. We don't want edgy stuff on our clothes. Yeah, just blurring it a bit manually. It doesn't have to be perfect. And then there should be like a difference. Yeah, you can see it's a bit more soft. And we want that softness for textures. In the beginning when I made CC, I didn't do that softness. I just made jagged edges, which doesn't look good at all. So please soften your edges. It just looks way better. It's a small detail, but it looks way better. Still not, yeah, I did a little thing here where I blurred it too much. It didn't looked a bit weird on the back. Yeah, I just thought it looked weird for the dress to not have that part as it does in the original, so I'm gonna add it like this. Just blurred a slight bit. And then change the layer to overlay or soft light. At some point I tried inverting the light, but I just went right back. Yeah, I didn't really like that as much as the other one, so I changed it back and like, yeah. Okay, let's see. We almost have our base done. So I'm just gonna save it because I forgot to save it earlier, so I'm gonna do that now. And then I'm gonna lighten this a bit because it's much too dark. Way better. You always need to make the bottom of the skirt a little bit darker than the skirt. Yeah, because of shadowing. It needs to look somewhat natural. And now I'm gonna open a ton of different embroideries. All those patterns I downloaded. Just gonna download, oh, not download, I'm gonna open those and just choose. I've already chosen, I just skipped that. I chose four different patterns, but I only used 3 because I found these 3 different patterns that were very similar in the style. And you don't have to meticulously remove all the bits of black since you're gonna resize it. It's gonna be really small later, so you don't need to do that. It doesn't need to be perfect. Then I'm just putting it in a layer group, and I'm gonna save it. So I have the original ones without the background, and I have some resized ones. Then I'm just gonna try to place it on the dress. I'm just experimenting a bit to see how I want it to look. I'm not really sure. I haven't started out with a vision or anything. I just started out knowing I wanted embroidery, so I'm just trying to figure out a way to do this. And then I thought, why not make it symmetrical? So I'm gonna make some symmetrical embroidery because it's also way easier, because you don't need to make it all over the dress. You just need to make, you know, a half a dress, and then you can just copy the layer and mirror it. So it's pretty easy to do. And I'm just taking this small flower, separating it so I can place it on different parts. feel like the design of this became pretty close to my siren dress. It could be a bridesmaid dress. Bridesmaids? Never mind. It could be a dress for a wedding with the siren dress, like sort of a pair if the maid of honor wore it or something. I feel like they could go well together actually. I'm gonna make this part of my Renaissance Victorian collection because yeah, I don't know what else to do with it, and also feel like it could definitely fit into that. Yeah, I'm just adapting, figuring out how to make a padding go a bit up the sleeve because I don't want it to end right there, so that's just what I'm experimenting with. But yeah, I already have a couple of dresses for my Renaissance Victorian collection. It's gonna be so great, it really is. I'm really happy with the items so far. Yeah, I'm just gonna, and then I did this where I just removed and just used this, just rotated it a bit, like so, and resizing it. And placing it so it looks good. Yeah. It didn't really work out with that apparently. I'm just looking for what else I can do. I think it shows to use that one instead because I needed a bit more volume for it. I think that's what I did. Yeah. Scaling it to 200, it's a bit too large. 150. Yeah, we're just gonna remove some of the leaves, those right there, just mark them freely and remove them. It looks pretty good now, and then just add some more flowers because I need more flowers. I'm just gonna make, I need some tiny flowers now. Just a tiny one. Just there and there. So we made one side now. And now I'm just gonna find, because I want to add some pearls, and I just usually use the base game pearl texture because I think it's pretty good. Because I feel like, as you can see also in the final one, in the first picture, I used a ton of pearls, and you're gonna see how I did it. I did it manually, of course, because I had no choice. Yeah, and then I just duplicated a layer and mirrored it. And I tried to see what would happen if I removed part of the rose, but it didn't really look good. It looked a bit weird. So I just decided to remove it instead on both sides. I tried to see, at first I tried to see if it looked good, but it looked kind of weird. So I just decided to remove it completely. It's pretty much just improvising all the way when I make CZ or I do a texture. Yeah, it's not very often I start out with a complete idea in my head. I usually just wing it. And here we have the pearl. I'm just gonna make it round because then it's easier to use. and change the layer size so I don't have like a giant layer to drag around. Then I'm just gonna, trace it around the pattern. What I'm gonna do now is I'm just gonna replace this with fishnet texture because I want some more fun in this. And as you can see, I tried adding a lace, but I removed it afterwards because I didn't like it, so I just cut that scene out. Here I'm just tracing where I want the fish net to be. My siren dress also has fishnet, so that's probably also like the pearls and the fishnets. That's why they ended up looking similar. Yeah, that's too small. Then if we remove, I'm just gonna save this base dress in case something happens and I need it later. So yeah, here you can see what it looks like after I've removed some of the dress. I just cut parts out of it, as you can see. And it's a bit too small on the top. We need as you can see right there, it's a bit too small. We need some more fabric. So I'm just gonna... yeah. Making this slightly thicker so there's a bit more fabric so it looks more natural, more real. Ta-da! Looks way better. So I kind of want to add fishnet to this tummy also. Just think it'll look a lot better if we also have it here. Wow, look at it! It's so pretty! Yeah, I should also, I did something with the white base dress. I just replicated it, made it a bit darker so it was more gray, and then I added it as an overlay with either the overlay or soft light, because then it just adds a bit more details to it. And here I'm just making this less obvious because I thought it was a bit too obvious. But yeah. Yeah, as you can see, I had some, you can still see some of the flowery pattern underneath, so that's just what I fixed. And then because I thought I wanted to make this, or I did make it, I make it a bit see-through, so that's what I'm doing right now. Because I thought it would look way cooler if it was a bit see-through, and it did, so I was correct. That's just what I'm working towards right now. Because what I'm doing right now is I'm just gonna, so it doesn't go completely see-through, because few dresses and clothes just go completely see-through. They often have a seam. And it also looks way better when they do have a seam. But now I also wanted to fit with the back, because it looks kind of weird if it just goes from see-through to, completely non-see-through. So that's I'm just deleting a bit with the eraser, and then I'm gonna blur it manually. Like so, but I also marked it so I didn't blur or erase too much. I imported it too quickly, but there you can see. Whoa, it looks amazing. And then I tried, I don't know, did I include that? But I did try also blurring the sleeves, but I just decided against that because it didn't look good. And I'm just blurring the seam a bit. Okay, so what I did here is I just wanted this hole in the dress where I wanted to put fishnet, so I just did that little figure, and then I'm just gonna fit it on the right side because, as you can see, it's parted, so that's just what I'm doing. Yeah, it's almost fitted, so I'm just moving it slightly to the right so it can fit a bit better here, almost. So now it fits, so I'm just gonna add the fishnet first. And then I'm gonna remove the part of the dress, like so. Ta-da! Amazing! So, and now I'm gonna add some pearls, because it looks a bit weird like that. So I'm just gonna manually add a ton of pearls. So I've basically made the texture now. I'm just renaming some of the layers. Yeah, and adding some shadow to the pearls. I'm just making the overlay visible so there are more details. Just adding the shadowing to the... I tried to put it in one layer group, but that didn't work, but I just added some shadowing to the flowers. Then I'm adding some shadowing to the embroidery also. And you can see many more details. Remember saving it. And now I'm just gonna recolor it a bit so you can see some different swatches. This is my favorite one. I haven't made a lot, I've only made like 4 or 3 different swatches, I think. 4 different swatches. But this one is my favorite. It really looks great. Seriously though, look at this. The colors, the pearls. So now I'm just making a couple of different swatches, and what's nice or what's good about the overlay is that it makes it way easier recoloring when you're using GIMP. So that's just why I add that overlay, and also because it adds more details, but minor detail. This one's okay, I think. Then I'm gonna do a black one. And this is how I make a texture. So it's not greater than that, it's not... I mean, I don't find it difficult, obviously, because I've practiced a lot, but the essentials aren't difficult. So I hope you've learned a bit, or is able to learn a bit from this video. And I hope you've enjoyed it also, in some way. And you can just see all the details. Look at this wonder. I'm really happy with the result. I didn't think this would happen at all. I didn't have an idea when I started, so this is amazing. Anyways, yeah, thank you for watching this. I really hope you gained something